Hello, my name is Stephanie Dasbach, and this is my advanced design project, final proposal presentation for my board game called Alien Out. So, to begin, here's some contents, I'll be talking about today, introduction, the evolution, some challenges along my way, the end product, and my takeaways from the entire semester. So, who am I? I am Stephanie Dasbach. I'm a senior at Winona State University. I'll be graduating in the spring. My major is design and marketing. I specialize in marketing and also have a minor in that. I'm from Lombard, Illinois, which is a Chicago suburb, and I'm also on the Winona State basketball team. My design style is very colorful and graphic and vectorized. Um, And I just wanted that my style to transfer over to also my game design. And I've always wanted to create a board game. So, yeah. Objective. My main objective was to just research, learn, and, like I said, design a board game where I have all the control and capabilities because growing up and just playing board games my entire life, I feel like there's always some flaws that I've thought about and would change if it was my game. And I was able to do that with this project. Along with that, I wanted my board game to be something unique. So I decided to try to include a pop-up dynamic. And I will talk about the evolution that has gone through because that was definitely a challenge in and of itself. Also, I wanted my game to just be a large set of mini challenges. I didn't want just one game and have my audience be bored. I wanted the game to be always changing, always moving, so that when people are sitting down to play a board game and they just think about like what kind of game they want to play, this is a perfect option for them to just play a bunch of games in one. Along with, I wanted it to be played multiple different ways. By this, I mean you can actually play the game as teams. There are six player pieces, so you can play six teams. You can play six individuals, or you could play individually. The individual way is you just basically verse yourself every time you play, and you always try to get better and improve every single time you play the game. Almost like chess or whatever, where you time yourself and then try to beat your time. Similar concept. And then finally, I just wanted to market for a game and think about the branding behind it and branding in general for the packaging, the entire experience, and yeah, so let's get right into it. To start off my evolution, I definitely started with a lot of mind mapping and just lists and trying to get all my ideas out on paper to try to figure out where I even wanted this game direction to go. I knew I wanted a pop-up game to begin with. I also, like you can see my notebook, I also just said 3D game. I just wanted to experiment with something more than just a flat board. Then to go off of that, I had to come up with a theme. That was maybe the hardest part because I couldn't figure out what kind of pop-up game and theme went together. As you could see, I played around with the idea of like a volcano or mountain for a while, but then that gave me a lot of Jumanji vibes, and I wanted this to be very unique. Um, and I didn't want people to compare it to Jumanji. Circus was also just not the best idea because not everyone likes circuses or clowns. And then I came up with the astronomy planet route. Aliens were obviously a good way to like have game pieces and just a fun theme. And then you can also see I had the idea to make it teams or multiplayer or individual from the get-go. I thought that was just another unique aspect to the game, and I personally sometimes want to play a board game by myself and have no one to play with. So I can't wait to play this game by myself and keep trying to beat my own score. And then also the team aspect, I added that because being on a team, sometimes it's hard to find the correct board game that would allow maybe 20 people to play. But now having it be a team version, you can have as many people as you want as long as you have six teams or less. You can play two teams, three teams, whatever. So that was most of just like my mindset behind this planning phase. And th- as you can see on the left of my notebook in the bottom left corner, I knew I also wanted it to just be mini challenges. And I was thinking, how can I even organize a bunch of mini challenges in one game? Well, then I kind of came up with the three challenge step, which I will explain more later, but that just kind of helped organize all these mini games. And I also wanted the beginning to be Earth and the end to be Pluto, just for fun, like relatability aspects almost. Like we live on Earth and Pluto is our farthest planet. So if I was trying to leave the galaxy, you would start on Earth and you would probably end on Pluto. So that was also my mindset there. So, like I said, let's get into the actual game. It is three challenges, two kind of mini challenges, and then the middle area and the middle planets are the bulk of the game. So, you start on Earth. Every player starts on Earth, and you just roll the die to figure out your player order. That's all Earth is. But then, once you figure out your player order, you move on to the next bulk of planets, which is all the planets minus Pluto. And each planet has its own type of challenge. I will explain those individually once I show you the board itself. Um, but each planet has its own type of challenge, type of game, and you have to win a challenge on every planet to get to Pluto. You also have to win a challenge on every planet to move on from that planet. So basically, it's whoever can win seven challenges first. That's basically it. Then, once you win those seven challenges, you go, and once you win your seventh challenge on your seventh planet, you will go right to Pluto. And there, someone will ask you a trivia question on the spot, and you must answer it correctly to leave the galaxy or win the game, depending on if you were the first player to finish all their planets or not. However, if you do not answer the trivia question correctly, and let's say earlier in the game you beat someone on their challenge on their planet. So, for example, well, I will talk about the Pluto exception later in the presentation for a little bit of anticipation. Okay, let's move on with the evolution, the actual game itself. So, I had to figure out what kind of pop-up d dynamic was I even going to do? 3D pop-up dynamic. So at first I was thinking paper and I went completely the origami route or just like trying to figure out what kind of folding techniques I could do. I read a bunch of folding books and I just nothing was working because it was all like too fragile or too complex and I want this game to technically not have an age range. Um, if you can read and understand a board game, I want you to be able to play it. And I knew if I did 3D paper dynamics, then it would become really fragile for the younger crowd. So I went back to the drawing board and it was kind of hard to research just pop-up dynamics in general because the internet didn't really understand like what I was looking for. So I kind of had to resort to just living my life and finding different dynamics that already existed and trying to convert those to my game. And one way or one object that really stuck out to me was the pop suction pop tabs buttons on certain types of containers. There are certain air suction containers that have like a button lid that will suction the entire thing. And I was playing around with it or just like had one in my house and I realized, oh my gosh, I could use this like type of button dynamic. And I was like, okay, but that's like still really complex and like how would I get that onto a board? Then I kind of thought of like a pop socket for a while. And I was even like dep trying to like create my own pop socket, but that also didn't work and was like not possible. So I resorted to well not resorted to, I thought back to the pop-up button from the container and then also mixed that in with the pop socket idea and came up with magnets and springs. Kind of same just concept, but different materials. And the magnets, there was definitely some trial and error trying to figure out the right strength with that in the springs. As you can see, some magnets even broke because they were so strong, and I needed to figure out how to get the spring action to work. So I did a couple prototypes. And this prototype became my like final prototype that really transferred over to the finalized game. I figured out that you can make your own springs, obviously, and so I made my own springs with wire. I went to Menards and spent about $100 on springs and magnets, and I made my own springs, and then also I had one magnet on the board and one magnet on each planet. These worked out perfectly. And the dynamic of just like them staying down with the magnets and then staying up when you pop them up worked perfectly. It was durable enough. Uh, it had the exact look I wanted of just these planets kind of floating around. And I loved the springs actually better than the 3D paper idea because the springs almost add that like fun space effect kind of where they're like floating in space and it worked out perfect. This board game itself took me a long time. The prototype took me a long time and then the final version as well. And I'm just really proud of how it came out with this spring dynamic because that was one of the biggest challenges throughout all this. Like I said, challenges. Um, was just time and trying to figure out like how to I needed time to prototype and that accounted or like was not helpful with my physical location because like I said I was on the basketball team. I am on the basketball team and trying to figure out how to make prototypes when we're going to different games every weekend was really difficult. Along with the strong and broken magnets, I needed to just test trial and error of like the actual genuine materials I needed and what type of strength of magnet I needed. Uh, the aliens themselves also went through some process of I didn't know if I wanted to 3D print them or some type of alien like sticker idea, which is what I ended up going with. But the aliens themselves definitely went through a process of just I thought I was going to 3D print them and then I thought I was going to paper origami them or have the people themselves make them paper origamis with the UFOs as you can see the game pieces and it's just nothing was working until my final product. And then the planet challenges, I just needed to figure out what I wanted each challenge to be. And that was not as difficult, but I definitely just had to think about accessibility. And if I wanted them to play like Pictionary, which is one of the planets, I needed to think about what materials everyone had. So therefore, I included branded whiteboards and dry erase markers for my Pictionary planet. And that goes along with the materials in general. Um, Now, final product. Alien Out. These are the pieces that I went with and the little characters. Each one has a name. Um, and I just love them so much. Also with Alien Out, you have to say Alien Out when you leave a planet every time. It's kind of how your magical UFO works. And if you don't say Alien Out for each planet and a different player catches that, you actually have to go back to that planet because you did not say the main rule, which is you must say alien out because you're alien out of there from each planet. Uh, Also, if we wanted to know, the names of each character are the purple guy is Glorp, the green guy is Blurp, yellow is Dombe, pink is Neela, orange is Zeeble, and blue is Dan. Here is the board itself. Final product. I'm so happy with it. And this is it just in its flat layout form. However, here it is. Product shots and with all the planets up in their spring area. I am obsessed how it turned out. I'm so proud of it. And now I'll go through what each planet actually means. So Earth is roll the dice. Jupiter is actually a you choose planet, so you can choose from any of the following. Venus is Pictionary. Mercury is true and false questions. Saturn is riddles. Uranus is math problems. Neptune is topics. So it's like I gave cards. Also, all these planets have correlating cards that go with them. And for the topics one, you pick a topic and then you'll go around the circle and your group will try to like say as many categories or like things in that topic or category. And then also Mars is sculpting. There's also like a sculpt type of Pictionary action, which I included two things of Play-Doh that I branded myself as well. Also, finally, like I said earlier, Pluto is trivia. These are the pieces themselves, and you can also, there's an option to customize your alien. You can put together its own body, its limbs, its eyes, and then you can slip its alien right into the UFOs. The UFOs are set up in a way where you can change out your character. Same thing with the players themselves. You can, there are correlating colors with them, but you can mix and match. You can have the orange guy in the blue UFO, and you can have the green guy in the orange one, or whatever you want. And then you could also customize it. The best part about the customizing is once you're done with the game, you can actually unstick the sticker and put it on a laptop or wherever you want. And that was also part of my marketing aspect because now I have free marketing for anyone who ever just played a game and created an alien because my logo is on those stickers. Speaking of marketing, here is my logo I came up with. I wanted the icon to be a UFO because I believe all aliens can come in any shape, size, or color. So I wanted the UFO to be kind of the thing that people thought of when they thought of the logo for my game. And also the game itself is called Alien Out, so I assumed I didn't have to add an alien to the logo itself. I love the colors. I made them green, kind of greenish teal, yellow, and blue. The best part and sneak peek into the game is the two Play-Doh colors are yellow and blue, and I did that on purpose because I know kids and they'll probably mix together the colors. So if they do, then they make green, and it's not the end of the world instead of some gross brown or something. So finally, just some takeaways of this entire process, entire structure and semester. Uh, my first takeaway is I had to be creative with structure. I just had so many ideas and I needed to narrow them down and make them a concrete plan and a concrete like product that could like actually be sold on a shelf in Target. But however, I wanted it to be unique enough that it could sell on a shelf in Target and be different than the rest. Time challenges, definitely the main issue. I just had to figure out time management and made some sacrifices, but I'm very happy how the overall game turned out and the time it took to create it was worth it, and I'm really proud of it. Accessibility, I also had to think about that a lot of the time and kind of change some of my original ideas just to make sure that it was accessible for a large audience and for everyone I wanted to play the game. And then along with professional game design, that goes with the game design itself, along with just the marketing and design aspect for it. I wanted it to look professional. I wanted it to look real. And same thing with like the logo. I wanted that to be something that people like remembered, and I wanted to put thought behind the design itself. So, just my final quotes that I really related to throughout this entire process. The difficulty lies not so much in developing new ideas as in escaping from old ones. And if at first the first idea is not absurd, then there is no hope for it. I picked these quotes because, like I said, I wanted this game to be unique enough that it was different from most games at Target. However, it was so absurd, like the second quote says, that it definitely had to take steps backwards from my just original vision. But that's the best part because I was able to be so creative, and I think getting those most creative, craziest ideas out first and then working backwards was a lot easier process than me having nothing and then trying to work up from that. So overall, this class taught me a lot. This project taught me a lot, but I'm very happy with it and how it turned out. And I can't wait to play it with everyone I know. And thank you, Earthlings, for listening to my presentation and process of this board game that's very complex. And the game itself is a lot cooler in person. And there's even some more hidden items in the game box. So, thank you for listening and goodbye.